Welcome to another episode of the Helen Rebellion Rock and Roll Association, brought to you by Holly Geist, where rock and roll is our religion and our law. This is episode number I don't know anymore. Before we get started, you know what we do: moments of silence, and we've got some big ones. The first one being Don Everly of the Everly Brothers. If I'm not mistaken, he was the oldest one. The second being Eric Wagner. Eric Wagner from Chicago Doom Merchants Trouble. You kids who grew up on Korn and Limp Bizkit and all that do not understand how amazing of a band Trouble really is. There was a time in the early 90s I thought Trouble was going to be the next Black Sabbath, the next Ozzy Osbourne. And don't get me wrong, they have their niche and they have their fans. But they never crossed that line. And you've seen it all over the place. A drummer's drummer, the amazing Charlie Watts. He was in a band, a really classic rock band that the name eludes me. Oh God, what was her name? My parents used to listen to this band a lot. I think it was the Bouncing Stones or the Licking Stone. I don't know. Rolling Stones. Rolling Stones. Yeah, he was the drummer for the Rolling Stones, and like I said, he was a drummer's drummer. He was one of the last of his kind when it comes to the traditional way of playing drums. He maintained that style, and I have to admit, when I was a kid, I was fascinated by the way he played drums, and it made me want to listen to the Rolling Stones because, other than being in band class, I'd never really seen rock and roll drummers play like that, and he was one of the greats. So let's go ahead and give these individuals our respect with some moments of silence. All right. Uh, God bless heaven, because now there's some trouble there. All right, all right. Who are we going to play and rock out to tonight? We are going to visit the United States nation's capital, Washington, D.C., to bring you a band called The Bad Brains, or Bad Brains. Bad Brains get their start probably around 1979. They've gone through many lineup changes. Many breakups. Even in the early 90s, they even had Chuck Mosley, the original singer for Faith No More, singing with them for about a year when he was replaced with Mike Patton. So, Bad Brains is often credited with pioneering the Washington, D.C. hardcore sound, hardcore scene. They're often considered one of the first hardcore bands. It's arguably their first self-titled record is one of the best, if you know, the best hardcore record ever made. Hardcore is a term they've never really truly appreciated because they have so many influences. They do so many different things. Uh, Most strikingly, reggae. They do a lot of reggae music. But there's a lot of heavy metal, a lot of hard rock, a lot of hip hop in their music. And you can really hear it in their later albums more than the early albums. The early albums are really, really punk rock, really, really hardcore. What you might not know, even though they're credited as a Washington D.C. band, they really don't get popular until 85, 86, when they would move to New York and start playing CBGBs and being a part of the whole East Coast New York kind of thing, which is fine, which is great. You know, the name Bad Brains actually comes from a Ramones song called Bad Brain. That's where they get their name from. And it kind of makes sense that they would want to move to New York, but they will always sort of be remembered as this DC band. And before they left, they passed the torch to bands like Minor Threat, SS, Decontrol, who else? Government Issue. Let's put Fugazi there too. So they kind of got stuck with the Washington D.C. moniker, and I'm sure they're not worried about that. It's kind of cool. What else? Like I said, when I was young, I was big into the skateboarding and the skate punk thing, and my buddies always played the self-titled Bad Brains, Rock for Light, and I'm kind of familiar with those records. I'm pretty familiar with those records actually, but I personally never bought a Bad Brains record until I bought this one, which is called Quickness. And this is the original one that I have. And you will soon find out that I have played this record since 1989, 1988, or this tape, probably once a week, is how much I really like this. And this is a tape that sounds like an old scratchy record, and I'm surprised that it's still functioning after all these years. But for me, this is the record I'm most familiar with, and it has a lot of nostalgic. It's just nostalgia for me. I love this tape, this record. I've listened to it nonstop for 30, 40 years, and so that's the one I want to share with you. So what else? Oh, Quickness. So this album's called Quickness. If you ever hear somebody my age, I don't really hear young people saying this so much, but there was a saying like, "Oh, we got to go do this with the quickness." If you ever hear somebody say "with the quickness," we got to go to this place with the quickness. We got to get out of here with the quickness. That's a saying that was actually started by Bad Brains and people like me. So let's quit listening to me jabber on and get down to business. And get your ears ready. Sit back, because we're about to listen to one of the greatest punk rock hardcore bands that has ever lived. And reggae. They're actually really great at reggae music. So let's check it out. You hear it? Sounds like a record.
Wanna see me hang around? Don't bother me. Well, you wanna know if I'm down? Can't you see? Yeah. I just didn't brown eyes. created scientifically. Why sit hang around? Follow me. You wanna know if I can down? I can't you see? Come on, open up your eyes. There is to see. So instead of fate, in reality. Are they issues? Try to by the June. Take the circular difference, just pass my way. Gene machine. Gene machine. You never know why when you see her. Quite aware, mistaken identity. Oh, I'm really
we go. Don't blow no bubbles. There's got to be a better way. Don't blow no troubles. So, I hope you enjoyed it. This is probably one. This is easily my favorite Bad Brains record. But if I was going to suggest Bad Brains to you, I would definitely get the self-titled record. Again, it's arguably the greatest hardcore record ever made. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a good weekend. I love each and every one of you. And remember, if I can get to 200 subscribers, I'll do a show without the sunglasses. All right. Have a good one.